How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another episode here on Let's Build Twitter. As always, I'm Ethan, or unknown Koder, your favorite underqualified senior software engineer. And as always, if you guys do want access to the private repository for this project, what you need to go ahead and do is subscribe to the channel to a membership for repositories, and that will go ahead and unlock you a form where you can go ahead and fill out whichever specific repository that you want access to. So with that being said, let's go and hop into what we're working on today. Today we're going to go ahead and continue working on our individual component page here. First, by adding in a scroll container here at the top, or somewhere around the top here, that's going to go ahead and show all of the hashtags that are shown inside of the post. And then after that, we'll go ahead and continue working here inside the CommunityPostsAbout section. So with that being said, let's go ahead and hop into the code, get to work, and see what we get to today. Starting out, let's go ahead and open up our Explorer here, go into our community features components, and let's go ahead and make a community post and then hashtags / community and post hashtags. This is going to be .tsx first. Go ahead and make a community post hashtags, hashtags.css. Go and open up the TSX. Let's go ahead and say import react from and React. We'll also go and import our // and here we'll go ahead and have our community post and hashtags. This one should be a pretty simple component, .css, export const, and then we're going to have our community and post hashtags. Here it's going to be a react fc, and this is going to go ahead and take in just our community and community. If I could type, that'd be cool. I'll type community, go and bring that in and open up our error function, bring in community here, and then open this up. Here, let's go ahead and set up a return the div class name equal to, here it's going to be community dash post dash hashtags. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry y'all, can't type in this video. And let's go ahead and start setting up the actual logic. First, we're going to have a const navigate is equal to use navigate, go and import that from our React router DOM. And then we're going to go ahead and say const, we need a parent ref, going to equal to use ref. It's going to be on an HTML div element. Open this up, then we're going to start this out as a null. We're also going to have a const, and this one is going to be our overflow ref equal to use ref, and this is also going to be on HTML div element, and pass in null to start. Then we're going to go ahead and say const, open this guy up. We're going to bring in some stuff from our useHorizontalScroll hook. First, we'll allow and scroll left. We'll go ahead and say allow scroll right. Then we'll go ahead and have our scroll left and our scroll right. Then finally we'll have our handle hover, maybe handle hover and handle unhover. Type, there we go. And this is going to equal to use horizontal scroll. We need to pass in the parent ref, and we need to pass in the overflow ref. So we'll go ahead and deal with all that, and react.fc looks good. Now we'll go ahead and start working on the component. So the component itself is fairly simple. We're just going to go ahead and come into this guy here, and we're going to go ahead and start out with an on maybe mouse over. So on mouse over is going to go ahead and be equal to handle hover. And then on mouse leave is going to equal to handle unhover, like so. Then inside here, we're going to check for allow scroll left. And let's go ahead and indent this a little bit. So if we are allowing scroll left, we'll go ahead and have a div with a class name equal to community dash post dash hashtags, maybe hashtags dash scroll icon, just like that. Style is going to equal to left :8, and I believe this works. I might need to put left 8 px on this. I don't know why it's just left 8, but that might have been not TypeScript, that might have been React Native Brain or something. But on click is going to be equal to scroll left. We're going to go and open this up, and then inside we're going to have Mature UI icon. We're going to say arrow back from Mature UI, sx equal to height will equal 20 px. our width will equal to 20px. And then finally, if I could type, our color will be white. Go and close this. Gonna probably be mad at us for a second, but that's fine. We have a div with a class name equal to, and this is gonna be like where all the actual scroll stuff happens. So we'll say community-post-hashtags, and this is going to be our scroll area, and our ref is going to equal to our parent ref. Go and open this up. Inside here we have a div with a class name equal to community dash post dash hash tags. I'm going to typo something and break everything. That's going to be fun. Overflow and then parent. I don't love the naming of this, but whatever. Ref is equal to overflow ref. And then inside this div, we're going to go ahead and have another div, class name equal to community dash post hashtags, and then we can actually have our content. Inside the content, we're going to go and say community.community hashtags. Go and bring that in. Go and say .map. Go and map through each hashtag. Then for each hashtag, we're going to go ahead and return. This is going to be simple. It's just a div with a class name equal to, actually, we don't want a class name yet, but it is what it is. We can do it in the wrong order. The name is going to be equal to community dash post hashtags dash, and this one is just hashtag, and then this needs an ID. ID is going to equal to hashtag dot slice and 1, and then we're going to go ahead and have on click is going to equal to navigate to, I guess we don't have this yet, hashtag post, or I just mixed it, so we'll go ahead and deal with that in a second. Hashtag and post, I just missed that one. And we're going to go and open up this div. Inside this div will be the class name equal to, and here it's going to be community dash post hashtags dash hashtag dash text, and then inside hashtag text, go and say hashtag. Go ahead and create this navigate before we break everything. So we're going to say const and navigate to hashtag and post. Go ahead and open this up. Just take an E and react.mouse event on HTML div element, I believe. Let's double check that. That is correct. Here we're going to go ahead and say e.stop propagation, and then we're going to say navigate, and this is going to be backticks and slash communities slash, and then $sign curly brace community.community ID, and then we need to go ahead and say slash outside that $sign curly brace hashtag slash $sign curly brace e.current target target.id. A little bit of a mouthful, but we're going to go ahead and just navigate to that page, and then we need to come outside of that div where we have like our scroll area and stuff. We're going to say allow and scroll right, and then if we allow scroll right, we're going to have a div with a class name equal to community dash post hashtags dash scroll icon, once again style equal to right, and this will go ahead and be right of 8px instead of left of 8px, and then on click is going to equal to scroll right. I don't actually remember if I went back through and set up the hashtags to actually be able to view these, so we might not even be able to see any of these, but it is what it is. This one's going to be an arrow forward. For material UI, sx equal to height, once again, will be 20px. Our width will be 20px, and then finally we'll go ahead and have a color of white, like so, and deal with that, and deal with arrow forward to come in, and then that's all of the code for this guy. So this is a very basic component, and it's very basic because we have this hook here that allows us to scroll left and right. But basically this is going to be like the other top bars that we have with like all the communities in them, where if there's like a bunch of hashtags, we can scroll left and right on it. So now let's go ahead and hop into the CSS, install this, and then we can get it into our actual page there. Now I hope I didn't typo anything because these ones are very finicky, but we're going to go ahead and start out with community dash post dash hashtags, and I'm going to go ahead and copy this just because I'm lazy. Inside our community post hashtag CSS, we're going to say width is 600px. 600px. We're going to say height is just going to be fit dash content, and then we're going to say border on the bottom Border bottom is going to be 1px, whoops, solid RGB, and it's actually going to be RGBA 170, 184, 194, 0.25. I don't know why this one's RGBA, but it is what it is. Border on the top of this one is going to be 1px, solid RGBA. Here it's going to be the same color, 170, 184, 194.25. Then we have a margin, whoops, margin of 0, padding of 0, and then we're going to go ahead and put the position as relative, so we can go ahead and move things absolute. Then we'll go ahead and have our community post hashtags dash scroll, whoops, scroll dash area. Here we're going to go ahead and say width is 100%. Then we'll go ahead and say overflow is just going to be hidden. We're going to go ahead and say overflow X is going to be scroll. We're going to say overflow Y is going to be hidden. And then we're going to say dash MS dash, and then overflow dash style is going to be none. We're going to say scroll dash bar. It's actually, whoops, scroll bar dash width is going to be none. So we need to go ahead and just like individually turn off like a bunch of the scrolling stuff. And we need to do the same thing again. We're going to say community post hashtags ::, and then WebKit dash scroll, whoops, scroll bar. Once again, we're going to go ahead and say display none. Just go through all the browser stuff and try to hide stuff. Now we have our community post hashtags dash overflow dash parent. Here, overflow parent width to be fit dash content, and then we're going to have a height 100%. Next, we'll go ahead and have our scroll icon. So paste that in hashtags dash scroll icon. Inside our scroll icon, the width will be 34px, the height will be 34px, and then we'll display, whoops, display flexes. Let's justify content in the center. And let's not add that. Align items in the center, and then a border, whoops, border of none. We have a border dash radius of 100%. After border radius, let's go and say background dash color RGBA. This will be 0,0,0. We're going to go ahead and say 0.7 on this. Then we'll go ahead and say position. I think I spelled that right. For once, position's absolute. We're going to say top is 50%. And then we're going to go ahead and say transform, be translate. And this one's going to be Y because we want it up and down. Negative 50%. So we're going to go ahead and center it in the middle of this component itself. And then we're going to go ahead and say z-index of 500. Our z-indexes are whack in this project, so deal with it as it goes. Then we're going to go ahead and have our scroll, whoops, maybe scroll dash icon :hover. Inside of our hover, we're going to just say cursor is pointer. And then we're going to go ahead and have a background dash color. This will be RGBA 0,0,0, and then 0.6, make it slightly lighter. Next, I have our community post hashtags dash content. Inside our content, width will just be fit dash content. We want to overflow basically. Display will be flex. We're going to go ahead and justify content space evenly, and we're going to have an align items in the center and a gap of 4px. Then we'll have our hashtags dash community post hashtags dash hashtag, and I really hope I didn't typo any of this. Width 100%, height, whoops, height is going to be 60px. I'm sorry. We'll display flexus. We're going to justify content in the center. We'll align items in the center like so. Then we just have a couple more here. Go ahead and paste this in. So hashtags slash hashtag dash text. Inside the hashtag text, margin will be 0, padding will be 0, and then a font dash size will be set to 15px. A font dash, whoops, font dash maybe weight is going to go ahead and be set to 500. Then we'll have a color 1D-A1F2. Make sure we actually do that properly. And then we're going to say white space, and we're going to say no wrap. I don't know why that's not giving us an option, but it should be white space no wrap. And then finally, we'll have our hashtag dash text :hover. And here we're going to go ahead and say cursor is going to be pointer. We're going to have a text dash decoration of underline. And then finally, we're going to say text dash decoration and color. This one is going to be the same color as the text. So 1D A1, F2, and that should in theory be everything, assuming we import everything right and we didn't typo anything. Now let's go ahead and hop into the community post component and actually add this in. Now inside of community post, let's scroll down a little bit. So now we have our community post hashtag. We can go ahead and get this, do this, and then here we're going to say our community is equal to the selected community. And this might be mad at us because one, we might need to import it, and two, it might be because cannot find community post hashtags. Let's try to import it really quick. Import, and I might have typoed something. Community, oh my goodness. Post hashtags. I might have typoed something slightly. Go and see here. Copy this. I don't know what I typoed here. Community post hashtags. Yeah, I don't know what I typoed, but it's there. Now let's just go ahead and see what it looks like before we start setting up the community about. Community about's gonna be a little bit bigger, but this episode's already pretty short, so it should end up kind of bouncing out a little bit, assuming we don't have too much to debug in this guy. Cool. So I did break something. Let's see here. Cannot resolve community post hashtags.css. So we need to go ahead and figure out what I typoed there. We look over community post hashtags.css, and what did I typo in here? Community post hashtags.css. I don't know what I typoed here. Community post hashtag. Did I miss an S? I did miss an S. There we go. Let's try again. That looks much better. Okay, I'm not seeing our hashtags though, so maybe this one doesn't have an hashtags. Let's double check our code here and see why we're not seeing this. So in our community post, we have active tab not equal to about, and hashtags.length is greater than 0. Let's double check that. So we're not in about. Let's check our Redux. If we go into our community info fulfilled, go into our state, communities, selected community, and hashtags. Oh, hashtags is empty on this one. Let's see if we can't find one that is empty. Let's go look on our backend and see what's going on with that. I thought we had hashtags in here. Hashtag junction, and hashtag junction is set up the same exact way as rules junction. So that should be working fine. I'm tempted to copy paste from GitHub to see like if for some reason like there's something weird typoed in here. Let me go ahead and double check GitHub and see what's going on with this. So I can't see what the change was, but I just copied this specific part here from GitHub and something did change here. I'm not sure what we typoed there, but I'm going to restart the app and see if we're getting hashtags back. Go and give this a refresh. Okay, we'll go into technology and there we go. This is broken, but we are getting hashtags back. So now we need to figure out what we typoed inside this guy because this obviously isn't working properly. Maybe some padding and better spacing on here. I don't know if I just like missed something or what's going down here, but we're definitely missing some content. Let me double check GitHub. So I feel like here in this content, see here, you have like a padding of like 0, and let me double check what Twitter looked like. And let's see if that does anything. It looks a lot better. And then yeah, it does seem like it needs to be spaced out more. We have padding 0. That should be padding 0.8px. So that might also be part of the problem. So come down here, be padding 0.8px. Whoops. Let's take another look. There we go. Looks a lot better. That's what we're looking for. Cool. All right, so that's going to go ahead and do it for that bit. I know that we kind of got this drawn out a little bit. We had to debug some stuff. I'll try to cut out as much of the debugging that we don't need as try to get to the point here. But with that being said, let's go and hop into the community post section and start filling that out and try to get that done today as well. And we'll try to make this episode a reasonable length. I don't think we need to look at all the debugging. I'll basically just cut to the point there. Back inside our code, let's open up our Explorer, go into our communities components. Let's go ahead and make a community and post about / community post about.tsx and create a community post about.css. I'll do the tsx here. Go ahead and import React from React. Let's also go and import our / and this is community post about.css. Hopefully I didn't typo anything. Export and const, and this is going to be community post about, which is react.fc. This is going to go ahead and take in just one thing, the community. Go ahead and say community, import that, and open this up. Go ahead and bring in the community and open up our arrow function. Let's go ahead and return, and inside the return, let's go have a div with a class name equal to community-post about, just like so. And this component is basically just going to be a display component. We're not going to have any logic in it. Let's go ahead and say div class name equal to community community-post-about-section. Inside here, we're going to have a h3 class name equal to community bucket type community dash post about, and then section title. Inside our section title, say community info, and that's exactly what it says on Twitter. Div class name equal to community dash post dash about dash content. Inside our content, we're going to go ahead and have our communities build SVG, communities build SVG. There we go. Here, height is going to equal to 24. We're going to say width is equal to 24, and our color is going to be equal to pound 657786. Looks good. Then below this, we'll put P with a class name equal to communities. Ooh, I renamed that one. I don't like that. Community dash and post dash about content text. Then I need to remember to update that, and here it's going to say only members can post. Come outside this div of a div class name equal to, and hopefully I have this in the right place, but this one is going to be called community dash post dash about dash content. Again, inside the community post about content, we're going to have a public outlined. Here sx going to equal to, and this one's going to be height of 24 px. We're going to have a width of 24 px, and then here we're going to go ahead and say color. This is going to go ahead and be pound 657786, and then we're also going to go ahead and say align, not items, we want align self. Align self, there we go. We're going to align self flex start on this one. Flex start. Okay, and we can actually just close this like so, I believe. Then below our public outline, we're going to have a div with a class name equal to, and community dash post about content text group. I was mix and matching names here. I don't love that. But inside the text group of a P with a class name equal to, and this is going to be community dash post dash about content text and primary. Inside our text primary, we're going to say all communities, all communities are publicly visible, like so. Of another P, the class name equal to, I'm going to double check we don't have anything broken here in a second, community post about content, and then we'll have text subtext, and then we'll go ahead and say anyone can join this community. Let's just make sure we don't have any issues here. Looks like there's something weird going on here. I don't know what this issue is, but I think that's fine. So now we have this about content. We're gonna go outside this about content, div class name equal to community dash post about content. Inside this community post about content, we're gonna have a calendar, and this one is gonna be called calendar month outlined. Make sure we spell that right. Sx equal to height of 24 px. I have a width of 24 px, and then we're gonna go ahead and say color. Here we're gonna go ahead and say pound 657786. Go and close out of this. Whoops, broke it. Of course I did. Go fix this. All right, so now we have our calendar month. P class name equal to, and here is a community dash post dash about dash content text and subtext. Here we're going to say created $ curly brace. We're going to go ahead and say stringify, and this one is full date. So stringify full date. We're going to go ahead and say new date and pass in community dot, and then community maybe, oh my goodness, create timestamp. Bring that in, and it's going to say by, and we're going to cheat a little bit. We're going to go ahead and say this with a space. Come down here, ban class name equal to, and this one is going to be community dash post about, and then content dash text and primary. Inside text primary is going to say at, and then curly braces, community.community, and this one is going to be creator dot and then user name. Okay, so now we can come outside of this section. So make sure we are here about section, come below this section, go here, div class name equal to, and we're going to have another community dash post dash about dash section. Okay, inside our about section, I have an h3 with a class name equal to community dash post dash, and then here about section title. Inside our about section title, we're gonna have our rules. So I could type properly rules like so. Let's go ahead and let me scroll down a little bit on both places. So inside our rules, we'll go ahead and have a p class name equal to community dash post about section or about content, and this one is going to be text dash thin. Inside the text dash thin, we're going to go ahead and also have a style equal to padding of 12px. I don't know why we do it like this, who knows, 12px and 16px. And we're also going to go ahead and have a margin on the bottom, and this is going to be 8px like so. Okay, looks fine. Let's go ahead and open this up. It's going to say these rules are set and enforced, and this one's going to be by community admins and are in addition to, make sure we spell addition to, and then we're going to go ahead and do the same thing where we have this, and then this is going to go ahead and have a span, a class name equal to, and this is going to be community dash post dash about dash content text rules like so, and this is going to go ahead and say footers rules like so, and then we're going to go ahead and have a dot here just like that. Then we're going to go and come outside this p, we're going to go and say community dot community rules. Then we're going to go ahead and say dot map. We're going to map through each rule, each index. Open this up. For each rule, we're going to return. Inside here, we're going to have a div with a class name equal to, and here we're going to say community dash post about rule. Inside each rule, we'll have a div with a class name equal to, and this is going to be community dash post dash about dash rule number. Inside the rule number, we're just going to say index +1, and then below the rule number, we're going to have another p tag class name equal to community dash post about rule, and actually this is not rule, this is about, and then text primary, and then here we're going to say rule. Make sure we actually wrap this one. So then that is our rules. Come outside of our community section, I believe. Let's see here. So here's our section, and this is actually going to be still inside of this section. So come down here, we're going to have another h3, the class name equal to, and this one is going to be community dash post about section title. Inside this one, we're going to say moderators, there we go. Under moderators, we're going to have a curly brace, community, and then this one is going to be moderators. We're going to go ahead and say .slice 0,5, get the first 5, .map through each user, and then let's go ahead and wrap the user like so. And then here we're going to go ahead and return, and this is going to go ahead and be a ProfileFollowCard. Inside the ProfileFollowCard, user is going to equal to user, and then display more is going to equal to false. Okay, close that. Let's come below that map, and then we're also going to go ahead and be done with this section. Okay, come out of this section, div class name equal to community dash post dash about dash section. Once again, inside the section, we'll have an h3, a class name equal to, and here we're going to say community dash post about section title once again, and here we're going to say members, Below members, we're going to have a set of curly braces, say community members. Whoops. Community members. I feel like we're supposed to have a more button. We'll deal with that in a second. And this one's going to slice. And this one will be 0, 10 dot map. Like so. Map through each user. Open this up. Once again, return. We're going to go ahead and return a ProfileFollowCard. Here, user will equal to user. And we'll go ahead and say display more is equal to false. Go and close this. What we do with this, let's come below this map and we're going to go ahead and have another set of parentheses. We're going to say community.community moderators and we're going to say .length is greater than 5. So if we're greater than 5, we're going to go ahead and have a div, the class name equal to, and this is going to be community-post-about-show-more. We must circle back and deal with this later because we don't actually have an on-click on this yet. Show more. And then we'll go ahead and come and do the same thing here. We have curly braces, community members .length is greater than 10 this time. And then here we'll go ahead and say that we want the div class name equal to community-post-about-show-more. Open this up, and then here once again we'll say show more. And I believe that should be everything. So this is a pretty lengthy component and hopefully put everything together. But basically we have a section for the community info that goes from here to here. So this is like who can join, when it was created, things like that. We have a section for the moderators and then we have a section for the members. So right now this is looking probably like doo-doo. So let's go ahead and hop into the CSS, style this, and then get this put in. There's some things where I renamed some stuff that I'm gonna have to remember to rename inside of our CSS. And this episode's getting really long again, but again, we should be able to cut out some stuff and make it a reasonable length. Otherwise, it would have been way too short if we would have just done the other stuff. But let's go and hop into the CSS, get this styled, make sure everything looks good before wrapping up the episode. Inside here, let's go and say .community-post-about. And like I've been doing, I'm going to yoink this just so we can be a little bit lazy and save a little bit of time. So here, let's set the width to 100% of our component. We're going to set the height to fit, fit-content. Then we'll have a border on the top of 1px solid. And this is going to be pound AA B8 and then C2. And then finally, we'll have a margin on the bottom of this guy of about 50px. I don't know why Twitter adds this, but it is what it is. Next, we'll have about section. For our section, our width will be 100%. Our height will be fit-content. And then we're going to have a border on the top of each section of 1px solid. And then pound AA B8 and C2. Next, we'll go ahead and do our about and section title. Inside of about section title, margin will be 0. Our padding will be 12px, 16px. We'll go ahead and have a font dash size on this of 20px, and then a font dash weight is going to be 600. Next, we'll have our about dash content. Inside our content, width will be 100%. We're going to go ahead and have a padding of 12px and 24px. Then we'll display flex this. We'll justify content in the flex dash start. We'll align items in the flex dash end, and then we're going to have a gap on this of 20px. Next, we're going to go ahead and say community post about, and then this one is going to be content dash text dash then. This is where things kind of went off the rails with naming, so we're going to try to be safe here. Be careful here. Margin 0, padding 0, and then we're going to say font dash size. Font size is 15px, and font dash weight is going to be 400. Next, we'll do our about dash content text dash group. Here we're going to say width is 100%. Let's go ahead and say height is fit dash content. Then we'll have a display of flex. We'll go ahead and justify content. Actually, we want our flex dash direction first. This is going to be in column. Then we'll go ahead and justify content in the flex dash start. We'll align items in the flex dash start. We're going to say, whoops, not get row. We're going to say gap of 4px. Let's get some space here. Then we have our community post about dash text dash primary. We already have our text group, so now we're on text primary. So text primary, we're going to say margin is 0, say padding is 0, and say font dash size. It's going to be 15px. Make some space here. There we go. We're going to go ahead and have font dash weight. Font weight is going to go ahead and be 600, and then color is going to go ahead and be black. Then we'll have our community post about, and this is going to be text dash subtext. So subtext margin will be 0, padding will be 0, and then font dash size is going to go ahead and set 15px. We'll say font dash weight. Weight is 400. Bucket type, and then color is going to be £657786, our dark gray color. Then we're going to go ahead and paste this in about dash text dash rules. Here we're going to say margin 0, padding 0, and then font dash size will be 15px. Go ahead and say font dash weight. Font weight is going to be 400. And then here the color is going to be pound, and this one's going to be 1D-A1F2, our Twitter blue color. Then we need to go ahead and deal with the hover on our rules. So paste this in about text rules, and this needs content on all of these, so that's cool. We'll deal with that in a second. About content dash text rules, I think it's supposed to be. Yep. Hover. Here we're going to say cursor pointer. We're going to say text dash decoration, going to be underline, and we don't have text decoration color, but we're going to need a text decoration color, found 1D-A1F2. Let's also fix these. So this one's going to be about content dash text, about content dash text, and then about content dash text. Make some space here. Next about dash, and then this one's going to be rule, like so. And hopefully I didn't miss any of these. Rule is going to be width of 100%. We're going to go ahead and have padding of 12px, 24px. We're going to say display flex. We're going to go and justify content in the flex dash start. Align items in the center, and there's going to be a gap of 20px. Next, we'll go ahead and do our rule number. So about dash rule dash number. Inside our rule number, width will be 32px. Our height will be 32px, and then display a flex. Go and justify content in the center. We'll align items in the center. Our border will be none. And we'll have a border dash radius of 100% to make it a circle. Oh my goodness, if I could type. Y'all, we might make it through this episode. And then the background dash color. This one's going to be pound and F6, F8, F8. Okay, after rule number, we have show more. So community post about dash show dash more. And show more, we'll say padding 16px. We're going to go ahead and say font dash size. It's 15px. We're going to say font dash weight. This one is going to be 400. And then finally, color pound 1D A1 F2. And then finally, we'll have our community post about show dash more. Here, we're going to go and say cursor is pointer. And now I'm sure basically all of our CSS is broken. This episode's going over length and everything's going wrong today, but hopefully everything is fine. Content text then, content text group. Okay, I think things are okay now. But now let's go ahead and hop into the community post component and add this in and see what CSS we have broken. So now let's go ahead and come down here. Let's find where our community post about goes. Go ahead and do this. Go ahead and do this. Go ahead and pass in the community is equal to the selected community. Make sure we import this. Okay, it's imported. That's fine. 1, let's make sure we import the CSS properly in the other component. And then 2, let's debug any CSS problems we have here. So if we click on about, this actually doesn't look too bad. It's kind of hard to see this part, but that's fine. This part is also fine, I think, because that's not going to fit. So I think we might have done something right. Moderators only has less than 5 or equal to 5. So that's why I don't see show more. You see show more. Show more might not be working properly. Let's double check the CSS on show more here. So show more, discover. Oh, We forgot to hover on it. Let's fix that. So let's make sure we add in our hover. I guess it doesn't actually do any background or anything. Let's go ahead and just do one more double check here. Looks better. We're already following Rick's. Looks fine. I think this is all probably fine. This is fine. That's working. I think everything else is good to go. So that is going to go ahead and do it. I know this episode was a little bit jank because we had some debugging to do, but by the time I edit it down and everything, it should be okay. But with that being said, y'all, hope you did enjoy. And if you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. Everything helps out here with the YouTube algorithm. If you want to see where we started from absolute scratch to get to the point right now, there'll be a playlist and a card coming right up. With that being said, y'all, this has been Ethan on Koder. Hope you have a great day. I'll see you all in the next video.